Hi there, and thanks for tuning into this special chess presentation by yours truly. Why is it special? Because it's in widescreen, but of course, what else? I'm still very green on running this chess channel, and I've been doing this already for over 8 years. However, I still don't know if I should tick this box or that there box or not, or leave it as I see it set by YouTube. Recently, I watched with joy and misery at the same time about what not to do on channels. And one of the things that the person said is, do not advertise your channel. Oh no, this is where I come into the misery part. I actually have the sticker for this chess channel on the back of my car. Oh no. And guess what? I'm going to be talking, sorry about this, Angry Birds, but I'm going to be talking about cars soon too, as well as what I'm actually talking to you about. So what am I talking about? I am talking about the subject matter I have for you today, because I do a lot of thinking about this subject, and I just happen to have given one a clue. I do a lot of thinking about the brain, and here I've got a bottle of water that was quite full when I started this, but this is one of the examples I see from that of Magnus Carlsen. He's always got some water at his board, even when he's at home. He has some sort of drink to keep the brain functioning reasonably well, even at my age. So it does help. So I'm talking to you about the brain and its functionality, and whereby it's not a good idea for people like me to try and tell it what to do. Chess is a thinking game, therefore leave it all to the brain. Don't even worry about it. Just let the brain do the talking, as well as the chess playing, David. Let the brain drive the game, not that of your will or my will. Same way, when we learn chess, or anything for that matter, for the very first time, we learn the thing in bits of information. I like that to do with learning how to drive. It's all in bits of information that we might hopefully eventually join up all the dots, so as we don't have to think about it too much once we've learnt the particular thing that we're learning, especially from the start. So with the brain doing its own thing, with inverted commas around these words, after we've sort of programmed it into the brain, it will function far better without us instructing it on top of the brain's process of thought as we go. It's like we're not having any real input in it at all, as I said earlier. For an example, and for clarity purposes, because I'm sure clarity purposes are something that I need to address. Imagine once you've fully learnt how to operate a motor vehicle, you jump in the car and start instructing the car how to go. Although I fail to start the car like normal, as I've been taught to do. It won't work properly at all, will it? As all us drivers know. We need to start the car first and operate the gears and the accelerator accordingly to effectively drive the car. If the car is not working, it is no use for us to get out of the car, much the same as Fawlty Towers, where Basil Fawlty gets out of his car and starts thrashing it with a nearby twig or branch from a neighbouring bush, which he might have just accidentally actually stolen as well. But there is no point in Basil thrashing the car with the said branch or twig, as it only alleviates his anxiety and angst than that of the car. The car is not going to operate any better one way or the other, whichever way it goes. So that is a famous clip from Fawlty Towers that I particularly quite like, except for a few things that he says out of his mouth. And so we come back to the brain. It operates far better, in my opinion, to not be instructed to go or stop or whatever, as it does it far better on its very own than our input, like the analogy of Basil Fawlty telling it So in this case, the mind, once it's learnt how to drive, ride a horse or ride a bike and that sort of thing, will operate better without our constant information or telling it what to do, like I've already said about Basil Fawlty. It doesn't work, Basil. It doesn't work. Even though it's hilarious, that's why it's hilarious, because it wouldn't work that way any better if we start thrashing it. If we start thrashing it, then we're only going to make it have to be repaired later on by someone someone at a later stage, because we've damaged the actual panel work and the paint work. We don't want that. So we get nowhere. It's just like ludicrous, it's nonsense, it's ridiculous. So when we learn a new thing, we're filled with a lot of questions. Specifically, the how and the why and the when questions come up a few times at least. This is before we do the joining up process of all the bits and information we are taking in while we are learning that particular thing. When we join up all the bits of information, so to speak, then the mind will come into its own, so to speak. And thereby and therefore, we will not have to tell our brain what to think. Once the brain has learnt a particular new thing, it does the job a lot better than we can instruct it to do it. I come back to the Basil Fawlty analogy again of it's no good to anyone to be thrashing the said hood of the car to try to make the car go when it just doesn't want to. If it's got water in the engine, or it's got oil in the radiator, if it's got no spark plug or anything like that, all those sorts of things. To finish this wee presentation for you, when we learn a new thing, we're filled with lots of questions about how and why and when do we do this and that sort of stuff, and we have to still join up all these bits that we get together so that we can then join them up and then let the brain do all the work that we've already processed it to do. And I wish you all the best with your chest, no matter where it's at. I hope you've got something out of this. And if you've been watching this whole thing, I'm very, very happy. And I'm very, very thankful that you've done the same. So all the best with your chest. And I'll do the thing that I don't really like doing. And it's not that. I don't mind doing that. It's, if you did like this video and you want others to know, please consider, I'm not telling you what to do, I'm just asking you to consider hitting or smashing that like button, and you can share it. I'd love it if you share it. And if you want to subscribe, if you haven't already subscribed, I'd love you to subscribe, and I'd really like it, And so thank you very much, and all the best with your chest, no matter where it's at. And I'll see you next time on The Muppet Show. David Wiggeder, over and out.